Hello and welcome to the AfterBurners Podcast. I'm your host, Samuel Oni, and this is episode 32. With me, virtually, is Wes Finman. Wes, how are you this evening?
Yeah, not too bad. I got a bit of a cold again, so apologies if my voice sounds not quite normal. But a bit disappointed after the weekend, I suppose, with the race that we had. But I'm all right. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, not too bad. Again, the race wasn't that great, but let's dive into it, shall we? Right, before we get into the race, let's talk a bit about qualifying, how that planned out. Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri, good weekend for him.
A very good weekend for Pierre Gasly. Started P5, which is, I think, up there with some of his best qualities this year. I think he started P4 in one race. I can't remember which, but certainly been sort of outperformed himself or outperformed expectations, really, I think, from Gasly this year. I think AlphaTauri have got a decent car, certainly better than I think they had last year. So for Gasly to again show just what he can do in the Red Bull sort of not necessarily sister team or junior team, but that sort of thing. To qualify just a tenth of a second behind Perez in obviously the main Red Bull car is outstanding. So for him to get to start P5 ahead of Sainz in the Ferrari, Ricciardo, Norris in the McLarens, Leclerc, the other Ferrari as well, and to beat Tsunoda by 0.7 of a second as well, is quite something to do. To beat your teammate by that much is saying something, really. Outstanding from Gasly in qualifying. Obviously, that wasn't the main shock, I suppose you could say. The Mercedes front row lockout. I believe that's the first of the season. I think it's the first Mercedes 1-2 in qualifying for the season. Someone will correct me on that, I'm sure. But Bottas completely took everyone by surprise with a 1:15.8, Hamilton a 1:16.0. Because after pretty much the whole weekend, or people say, it's a Red Bull track. I mean, we said it on the podcast last week.
Said
it's
it.
Red Bull track. Red Bull will be 1-2 in qualifying. Max will win the race, which happened, but not many people were expecting or predicted a Mercedes 1-2 in qualifying, and certainly not many people expected a Bottas pole in Mexico. So hats off to Mercedes. Obviously, I wouldn't say they cocked things up, Red Bull, but what happened with Tsunoda? Maybe we're supposed to have to talk about it. I suppose I think it was just a miscommunication, really, between the Red Bull teams, Red Bull AlphaTauri. Tsunoda, I suppose, was out there to give the Red Bulls a little bit of a tow or a bit of a slipstream to try and get them just to go a little bit faster. And it didn't really work out that way, because at some point during the lap, Tsunoda was obviously told to move out of the way for Perez and Verstappen, who weren't that far behind.
No.
And he just tried to do his job, tried to do what he was told. And
excuse me,
I suppose ultimately threw Perez off a little bit, because I don't know whether Tsunoda locked up or span out or whatever, but Perez seemed to follow him, and then Verstappen, who was behind Perez, sort of thought, there's been an incident up ahead, there's been a crash or someone spun out or something, and Verstappen then slowed down to try and go through it safely, I suppose, and then realised, it's fine to go full speed. And then by that time it was too late. There was no time left on the clock to do another lap. Ultimately Red Bull started third and fourth. So a miscommunication, I think, between Mercedes. And I think Christian Horner's comments on Tsunoda were extremely harsh, because he can't go and say
Tsunoded, he said.
He got Tsunoded, yeah. It's very, very harsh for a driver who is in his rookie season in F1, and qualified ninth. It's not terrible for AlphaTauri at all to start or to qualify P9. He had penalties, which meant he started at the back. For the team boss of Red Bull to say that to one of your junior drivers, to say, we didn't qualify on pole because it's one of the junior drivers' fault, it is incredibly harsh and wrong, I think, from Horner. I'm not the only one in saying that. Twitter was full of sort of support for Yuki Tsunoda, and wouldn't say hatred, but that sort of
Oh,
ilk
that's a bit
towards
much.
Horner. Hatred is a bit strong, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I think
that
he was
sort of thing.
confused by it, Sonoda. I think he was just
Yeah,
confused, like what to do, the miscommunication and everything. But yeah, as you said, and I mean, like you said, Verstappen wasn't able to complete his lap, and he had to settle for third place behind the two Mercedes, and he didn't take it too kindly over the radio. I think
no, he didn't.
he said
He
he
called
said,
one of them an idiot,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. Whether it's his teammate or Sonoda, I don't know, but Verstappen wasn't happy.
Yeah, yeah, just miscommunication between Red Bull, I think, was the main cause of that. I mean, if they wanted Verstappen and Perez to have a clean lap, then why send Sonoda out in front of them? Because obviously the Red Bulls will be faster, so they'll catch up to Sonoda. But I just don't get it. It's a complete miscommunication between Red Bull and AlphaTauri, between Helmut Marko and Christian Horner. So yeah, we'll leave them to sort that out between themselves. But yeah, for Horner to criticise Sonoda is just wrong in my eyes.
Yeah, it wasn't right. But well, that was qualifying. But the real thing is about the race in Mexico. And Mexico, everyone's rooting for Sergio Perez. Lights go out, and then lights go out. Mercedes, Bottas, Hamilton, and first lap, first turn. How would you describe it? I'd describe it as my eyes are just what? What?
Just chaos.
Chaos.
That first quarter.
Now, Max Verstappen, who's starting third place, I don't know, did he like just foresee what's happening, or just, I don't know, but isn't he just brilliant? I mean, to get the slipstream on Hamilton and Bottas, essentially the three drivers going three abreast on the track, almost no room. He times it perfectly. Next minute, he's ahead of Hamilton and Bottas. Brilliant from Verstappen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I suppose if you're on pole in Mexico, it's not always the best sort of outcome, because it's such a long run into that first corner that the cars behind you, like Verstappen did, got into the slipstream of Bottas. Then as soon as they were approaching the braking zone, sort of moved out to the left, going three wide, as I think it was three wide behind them as well, with Ricciardo and the two Ferraris.
Guess how long in length, meters, it is from the start finish line into the first turn.
Wow.
How long do you reckon it is?
Got to get on for a kilometre, surely. that straight. It's got to be 1,000 meters. I'm guessing it's a long way.
890.
Close enough.
Close enough. But yeah,
that's a long way. A really long way. So yeah, it just gives everyone behind the leaders just an opportunity to form this massive sort of slipstream train, if you like, which Verstappen took advantage of, getting the slipstream off Bottas, moved to the outside, and made the move stick. And obviously what happened after that was, I mean, sort of set the tone. I wouldn't say set the tone. It just ensured Verstappen kept the lead for the rest of the race, I think, because Ricciardo locked up, trying to go down the inside, tagged Bottas. Bottas spun, caused a huge sort of pile up behind it, everyone to slow down. Esteban Ocon, who I think again was starting at the back with engine penalties, was sandwiched between Tsunoda and Schumacher, took both of them out of the race. We were two cars down by the end of the first corner. Ocon carried on, I think finished P13 in the end. But it was just a crazy, I wouldn't say first lap, just first corner, really, where, Verstappen, amazing move to go around the outside, and luckily for him, stayed out of what was to come. But, a bit unfortunate for Bottas after surprising everyone with pole and then finishing outside the points as well.
18th, overall, I believe it was.
15th. It was.
15th.
Yeah, a long way out of points as well. So disappointing, incredibly disappointing, and I suppose unfortunate race for Bottas. I mean, a bit unlucky that Ricciardo locked up. Also a bit strange that Ricciardo didn't get a penalty for that. I find he didn't, not even a 5-second one. I think I've surprised a few people because essentially he caused that whole situation really. Once we got past the first lap, there wasn't really a lot to talk about or just be entertained by. Really, it was just what we've come to see
Verstappen
over the last couple of years. Bit of a
I
procession.
mean, like Verstappen. I mean, from that moment, I think he enjoyed his racing performance. He was dominant as he has been throughout the season. I mean, that's 9 race wins for Verstappen. Also, and like his team radio as well. I don't know if you noticed. Sometimes he'll be asking, "Are my tires okay? How's Perez and Hamilton behind me? What's going on? How far am I from those two?" It's just interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah, I suppose when you're that far in front, then you don't really have a lot to worry about. It was just plain sailing for Verstappen, and I saw both him and Perez were reporting that their tyres were pretty good. I think Perez said they were only getting better at one point, whereas you had Hamilton saying, "Oh no, the tyres are dead," the usual stuff that we hear from Hamilton pretty much week in, week out. I suppose it's just refreshing to see Red Bull say, "Oh yeah, these tyres." I think they dummied Mercedes at one point. I can't remember who it was going into the pits, but the Red Bull pit crew came out, and Mercedes pitted Hamilton, and then Red Bull went back in. So whether that was strategic, I'm not too sure. It's just a plain sailing day really for Verstappen, because as I say, he took the lead very early on. The pile-up essentially extended his lead, and then Hamilton didn't really have a chance of catching him, and was had that little battle with Perez at the end. I suppose the last few laps, Perez was about half a second.
He was so close.
He was so close. And
so close.
There aren't too many overtaking opportunities. Actually, I can't remember who said it, but the last real overtaking opportunity for the lap is only about turn 3 or 4. It's very early on, because otherwise there's just fast corners where you can't really get past. So he got close, Perez, very close. He had the DRS between, I think it's turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, that was pretty much the last point.
Unfortunately, unfortunately couldn't quite get ahead of Hamilton. Had to settle for third, but still third place. I think the first Mexican to be on the podium for the Mexican Grand Prix. He was also the first Mexican to lead the Mexican Grand Prix, and the celebrations with his dad at the end is just
beautiful.
I mean, he didn't get the win. It would have been amazing if he did get the win. His home Grand Prix, but beautiful scenes.
Beautiful scenes. And what do you reckon? What do you think of the podium ceremony with Verstappen's car being lifted up?
Oh, we heard the news that they were going to do that again this year, and I'm not too sure about it. I suppose for drivers like Verstappen, well, any F1 driver, I suppose, it's just a bit of showboating, really. And I suppose it's there for the fans mainly. But if I was Hamilton watching that, I mean, Hamilton had the same to him in 2019. He went up on his car and was lifted up to the podium. If I was Hamilton, second in the championship, just come second after a pretty dull race, I would not want to see my title rival and championship leader being lifted up on the car. But as a spectacle, I thought it was quite good, particularly for the fans at the track itself. But Verstappen just played it cool. He was just sat on the front wing, just like, I've won the race, cool. Let's crack open the champagne on the podium. I don't mind it, I suppose. I mean, I'm not one for big podium celebration, that sort of stuff. Like, I mean, what we saw in America, I wasn't a huge fan. I was just like, it was just cool, I suppose. And I suppose this weekend it was sort of like that. I don't think as good as the American podium, where the Longhorn car and Shaquille O'Neal and all that.
Oh, Shaquille! Oh gosh, don't even get me started on that.
But I think for the fans, in the stadium. It was great, I think.
Yeah, indeed. And well, it's always nice to do a little bit of competition between us, especially like how we predict our seasons, with race winner, who's setting pole, and driver of the day. Now, I can confirm that after 18 rounds,
18 races.
after
Yeah.
18 races and 32 episodes of AfterBurners Podcast, I can confirm that we have one driver of the day correct. And Wes, well done. Well done to you.
Thank you.
Sergio Perez was, in fact, driver of the day for Mexico. And
Yeah.
can you believe it? I'm actually happy because imagine going the whole of 22 races without a correct driver of the day. Like
Yeah.
that would be just
That would have been a bit
embarrassing.
ridiculous.
That would have been
It's
ridiculous.
good that we've got one. I mean,
Yeah,
we've got 1 in 18. There's 4 more races left. We've just got to try
That's
and
not-
make
yeah.
up for it now. But I think I got a point for Verstappen win as well. So I've got 2 points for the weekend.
brilliant. Also, a shout out to listener Anton Catch, who correctly predicted the Mexico Grand Prix with Verstappen winning and Hamilton finishing second. As for third place, he was
Almost
unsure.
got it right with that as well. I think you said Gasly or Perez. And
Gasly or
drove
Perez.
there. I think that too. It was. I assume it was very close between Perez and Gasly for driver. I can't remember the actual sort of vote percentage wise, but to get essentially one driver out for 2 predictions isn't bad.
That's not bad. But well done, and Anton, if you're
well done.
listening, watching this, well done to you. And just finishing up on Mexico with that race win for Verstappen, he now leads by 19 points with 312.5 with 4 races to go. Wes, if you're you predicted Lewis Hamilton to win, right? You're Lewis Hamilton, you're Toto Wolff. How do you prepare for Brazil? What's your mindset?
You just got to give it everything now, because I think if Verstappen wins in Brazil,
It's a do or die.
then I think so. Yeah, this could I think
Make it or
I
break
don't know
it.
now with that win. I said Hamilton will win the championship, and
Remember,
I
he's never won.
think he can reel it
Hamilton
in.
has never won a championship in this sort of this sort of scenario, if I'm correct.
No, he's never been behind.
He's never been behind.
With this many races left and won the championship. He's always been ahead. So yeah, they've got 4 races to go. One in Brazil, which again is a track that slightly favours Red Bull more. But then we have the triple Middle East races, which I think will suit the Mercedes more than the Red Bull. So
hopefully it comes down to Abu Dhabi. I don't want it one.
I genuinely think it will. I genuinely think it will come down to Abu Dhabi. I think there'll be a few points between them, and I genuinely think it will go down to the last race of the season. I think it'll be a less than 10-point gap between the two of them.
I was gonna say that. Yeah, I was gonna say that.
I think if Hamilton needs to, if he can't win, at least get second and fastest lap. So that gives Verstappen, it'll be a 25-point lead going into the last 3 races of the season, I think, to a 24-point lead. I can't remember now. But it's something that Hamilton can reel in, because if Verstappen has, as I think I said last week, just one race where he finishes outside the top 3, that opens it up just massively. If Hamilton wins, of course. I think if Verstappen wins the next race in Brazil, then Hamilton could be waving that driver's title goodbye. I don't think he will. I still think Hamilton will just pit Verstappen to the post. The last race of, I was going to say the turbo hybrid era, but these sort of regulations before we get into 2022. Yeah, I suppose as an F1 fan, I want Verstappen to win, but I don't think he will. I think Hamilton will just pip him to the post.
Okay. Before we go into predictions of a race, it's good to talk about a preview of a race. So, Brazil, of course, there was no race last year due to COVID, as Brazil was hit pretty bad with coronavirus. But 2019, you probably don't remember, but
Not a clue.
no, fair enough. Well, I can tell you that, I don't know, Sebastian Vettel was on a front row for Ferrari alongside Max Verstappen in a Red Bull. But it was the Dutchman who came out on top with Pierre Gasly in second place, driving in the Toro Rosso, I think it was. Yeah, Toro Rosso.
Yeah, I think it was the Toro Rosso then, yeah.
And then I think Carlos Sainz in the McLaren.
Carlos Sainz, yeah.
Third
After
place.
all the penalties.
After all those
Hamilton
penalties.
was hit by penalties.
So yeah, that's a bit on Brazil. I think Hamilton has won Brazil in the past. If anyone can tell me which year he's won Brazilian, then that would be great. Thank you for that. But yeah, predictions for Brazil.
I think I'm going to go fairly similar to Mexico. I think
before you answer it, who does Interlagos suit more? Red Bull, Mercedes?
Red Bull, I think. Just not by much. But I think from what I've heard on Channel 4 Sky Sports, Interlagos is a slightly more Red Bull favoured track. Then we go into the last 3 races where it favours Mercedes slightly more so. But then we said that for Mexico, and yeah, it was a Mercedes one too. So it could be a bit touchy too. But I don't think Red Bull will have the same weekend as last. I think they will be on pole, and I'm going to go Sergio Perez. Again, not Verstappen.
Is this for pole sitter or race win?
This is for pole sitter. I think Verstappen will be race winner. I think Perez will be pole.
Okay.
For driver of the day.
Right, you've already got one. Remember that. You've already got one. So it's me that needs to, get one correct. So, and at this rate, I don't think I am. I have a decent record for race wins this season, but driver of the day has been a bit, well, as you were.
I think it's tricky. I'm gonna go Carlos Sainz.
Okay.
For Brazil, got a podium out there last time round, and has had a pretty good season as well for Ferrari. I wouldn't say slacked a little bit, or he's gone back behind Charles Leclerc by 7.5 points, which again still isn't that much to be that close to your team in your first season at a new team is pretty decent. So I'm going to go Carlos Sainz for driver of the day in Brazil.
All right then, good. Well, just before I give my predictions, I don't know if you noticed, but listening on the radio on the Mexico Grand Prix, there was one name that wasn't mentioned throughout the entire race in Mexico, as of how he was racing, where he was on the grid, where he started, where he finished, his progress. Guess who wasn't mentioned?
He wasn't mentioned at all.
He wasn't mentioned at all.
Blimey.
He finished in the points.
Oh wow.
Fairly quiet. Yeah, fairly quiet. His name wasn't mentioned at all. I mean
finished in the points.
I know it's a bit.
Raikkonen?
No, Raikkonen was mentioned once. Vettel, that's it.
Sebastian
Vettel wasn't mentioned once in the Aston Martin, and he finished P7.
That's like a decent. That's 6 points as well. It's not like he's just scraped through
No.
with a point either. But yeah, the P7 fairly respectable for Vettel. Started P11, so moved up 4 places as well. I suppose he qualified P11, so he would have moved up. Well, he's 1 place for Sonoda. I think Norris took an engine penalty as well, so he moved up to 9th, I think, in the end. Still gained a couple of places, and yeah, that surprises me that no one mentioned Vettel at all.
No, he was just hidden in there like a pack of cards, just underneath. So anyway, predictions. Now, as you said, Interlagos suits Red Bull just, but I think Hamilton or somebody will. I think qualifying just. Oh, another thing. All right, this is going to be quite a long one. I'm sorry, but we're having the 3rd and final sprint race in Interlagos.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Good point.
Yeah, the 3rd and final sprint race in Interlagos. Now, we've already had 2 sprint races in Monza and Silverstone. Trying to get just more races in, trying to get more fans to, hype up Formula One. Some people like it, some people don't like it. Others are not decided. But the 3rd and final sprint race is in Brazil. Here's one. Whoever finishes first will get. Previously, they got I think they got an award. I think it was for the fastest qualifier.
Oh yeah, Speed King or whatever.
Yeah. Do you think the award should go to the one who sets pole, or just the fastest lap, if you get what I mean? Because I think there was a bit of trouble in media saying that it shouldn't be awarded to the one who's who wins the sprint race.
I don't know, to be honest. I'm still sort of trying to get to grips with how the whole sprint races work, because you've essentially got 2 qualifying sessions, which is weird. But I think it should go to the winner of the race, because at the end of the day, the winner of the race is the driver who starts on pole for the main race, the feature race on Sunday. I get why people are saying that the award should go to whoever set the fastest lap, but if the person who set the fastest lap is 12th or something, then it doesn't really matter. You can say only the top 3 get points at the end of the day in the sprint race, which could play quite well. I wouldn't say the hugely pivotal role, but it could sway things slightly. Say if Hamilton gets pole in the sprint race, and that's just 3 fewer points that he has to catch up on Verstappen. But yeah, I can. Oh yeah, I'd keep the award to the winner of the race, I think.
Cool. Now, predictions for pole, because it's sprint race. I'm gonna go along the lines of the sprint race. So whoever's gonna win the sprint race is my pole sitter, and I think Hamilton's gonna win it. He needs it. Never write off Lewis Hamilton, 7-time F1 champion. So Lewis Hamilton's gonna be a pole sitter. Race winner. Well, I'm 19 points behind, and my title rival has been brilliant this season, so I need to win the race. Lewis Hamilton. So Lewis Hamilton's going to win.
Race win as well.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm taking a gamble with that one.
You're thinking this is the moment that Hamilton pulls.
I think it is. Yeah. I think it is. If he does, it sets him up very nicely for the Middle Eastern races. I mean, it's going to be a first time in Qatar, but Abu Dhabi in the season finale, he knows that race. So yeah. Oh, and Jeddah as well, which anyway, but yeah.
Well, if Jeddah's constructed, we might get another race somewhere else.
Constructed?
Jeddah's yet to be complete.
Do explain.
I think it will.
Do explain, yes.
Well, they haven't built the track yet. They haven't put all the. I don't know. It's still under construction, I think, with 3 weeks to go. So I imagine they will finish it, just because what are F1 going to do otherwise? Will they have a race in Bahrain? Will they have a double header in Qatar? A double header in Abu Dhabi? I don't know, but I'm sure on the outside, it may seem like, it's not complete with 3 weeks to go, but I think on the inside, it should be okay. We should get a race in Jeddah.
Okay. Right. Pole sitter, Lewis Hamilton. Race winner, Lewis Hamilton. Driver of the day. Now, of all drivers not to win driver of the day, I think that's a few. Haas, Alfa Romeo. Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna chuck one out there. Let's say Norris. Lando Norris.
Decent shout, yeah.
Lando Norris for driver of the day.
Interesting how you've gone for Norris, who was the current McLaren driver. I've gone for Sainz, who was on the podium last time out racing for McLaren. They're both in a way gone for some sort of McLaren driver.
Indeed. And yeah, well, anything else you want to add? Because I am stumped.
Well, I think just the last few things. We talked about the Drivers' Championship being pretty close, 19 points, but in the constructors,
4 races
it's even closer. 4 races left. Mercedes 478.5 points. Red Bull 477.5 points. They're just 1 point behind. Ferrari have also leaped from McLaren into third with 268.5. McLaren 255 after I think Norris only got the 1 point in Mexico. So it's getting very close between the top two, and the way things are going, I wouldn't be surprised if Red Bull did go top of the constructors. Whether they'll win it again, I'm not sure. I don't think so. I think Mercedes will be constructors champions for eighth year running, 9th year running. I think it's 8th year since 2014, basically. It's down to McLaren to try and get back above Ferrari, get that third place, a bit of extra cash going into next year. But again, just a little bit further down, you've got Alpine and AlphaTauri who level on 106 points. Joint.
Who's going to finish higher, Alpine or AlphaTauri?
I think Alpine, purely because I think their drivers are more reliable, or they have a more reliable sort of point scoring car and drivers than AlphaTauri and Gasly and Tsunoda, because Gasly is a top quality driver. Tsunoda I don't think is quite there yet. So if AlphaTauri do want to beat Alpine, it's 80% of the work has got to be done by Pierre Gasly. Whereas with Alpine, I think Alonso is a class driver. Ocon is another decent driver. I think as a team, they're just slightly better than AlphaTauri at the moment.
Yeah. And well, with that said, I think that's the end of the AfterBurners episode. Hope you've enjoyed it. We've had a lovely Mexican reception last weekend, as Perez was the first Mexican to get a podium, and his dad was very, very happy. Max Verstappen cementing his lead at the top of the Drivers' Championship. And with Brazil coming up next, who knows? 4 races to go, 19 points separate the top 2. Who's it going to be? Max Verstappen or Lewis Hamilton? Well, I've been your host, Samuel Oni, and it's a goodbye from me. Bye-bye. And it's a goodbye from Wes.
Bye-bye.
And we hope you've enjoyed it, and stay tuned for Brazil this weekend.